Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video for the day. We're going back into r/Tales of Neckbeard because everybody seems to love a good old-fashioned story time. If you would like to be absolutely amazing and show your support for the channel, be sure to leave a comment down below, like the video, and if you have not already, subscribe. Let's go. Our first story comes to us from username Princess Jojo of Weebs. I dated a neckbeard for 3 years. This is going to be a long story since I was in a relationship with this guy for 3 years. I'm not sure if the story really belongs in this subreddit as he wasn't the stereotypical neckbeard, but I gotta tell it. I've been watching videos on this subreddit on YouTube a lot, so it inspired me to tell my story. It all started really freshman year of high school. In the middle of the year, I had to transfer to a school in another county because where we lived was getting expensive. This meant I lost all my friends and was really sad and depressed at the time because of the move, a situation going on with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and my parents going through a rut in their relationship. That's when I met the neckbeard. Let's call him Dom. I was in the same bus stop as him and never really paid attention to him because, again, I was going through a lot and didn't care about making friends at his new school. He saw me, a cute, short 14-year-old girl who was obviously into anime and gaming, and was smitten. I considered myself, and still do, prime neckbeard bait. During middle school, I was a legbeard and have been growing out of that phase bit by bit. I barely washed myself, wore baggy clothes, said weeby things like sugoi or kawaii, and carried a sketchbook and anime merch with me everywhere. It wasn't until sophomore year that me and Dom started to talk more on the bus, and I was happy to know he had the same interests as me, but on a more extreme level. Dom was a bit overweight, didn't have a beard, but wisps of hair on his chin, did clean up after himself, but had crooked teeth. He was open about his weakness and even made fighting stances in public. He also at some point showed interests in katana. I know, cringe. So how the heck did I end up dating this guy, especially for 3 years? Well, at the beginning, Dom was actually a really nice guy. He was respectful and kind, and was really the only person I talked to at the time about everything. He also had a lot of female friends, so I assumed that it only added to what a good guy he was. Turns out I would be so wrong later. I ended up catching feelings for this guy and told one of our friends, and she ended up telling him. Then Dom told me he liked me back, and I remember nearly passing out over the fact. I introduced him to my parents, and they did like him at first. That would change later. I also met his parents, and they were nice people, especially his mother, who adored me dearly. But his father at times did have a hot temper and was strict, with him being a military vet. This will be relevant to the story later. The year was actually great. He always gave me presents, we went to school dances together, and I can say I did love him that year. There is something I do have to address. My parents were strict Hispanic folks, so when I went on dates with Dom, my little sister, who is 5 years younger than me, had to chaperone. This would be something that would further irritate Dom and bring our relationship to its impending doom. There were many red flags in our relationship that I feel insanely stupid to ignore. Keep in mind, this is my first ever serious boyfriend, and I wanted it to last throughout high school. The first was the beginning of our junior year, where pressure started to rise in everyone in my class, as it does for any junior. One day, we were talking during lunch, which turned into an argument about something. I don't remember what it was, but I do remember him grabbing me by my shoulder and shaking me like a rag doll while yelling at me. I was so shaken up that I started crying, and he hugged me and apologized, and I did believe his apology. I thought nothing like it wouldn't ever happen again since he loved me, but in the back of my mind, I let it bother me. I realized over time when him and his dad argued, they sounded so similar. It was scary and explosive when they fought. Also, he got me into Pokemon. I remember battling him one time and I kicked his butt, but he was so angry with me that he didn't speak to me for a whole day. And when we also learned to play Yu-Gi-Oh together, he would get so freaking toxic. He would be so crucial of how to play the game, and I just wanted to have fun with it, to enjoy something with my boyfriend. He ruined the game for me. Soon, I started having feelings for another guy at my church, so I decided to break up with Dom, but then quickly got back together with him. I never engaged in anything with the other guy at all. I did tell him my feelings, but he turned me down. I should have never gotten back together with Dom, because things only went downhill from there. He would use what I did to manipulate me and make me feel like shot. He would become more of a donghead while my sister was with us chaos on our dates and have it be my fault that I never changed that. Senior year was really when things got so strained. I wanted to pursue a military career, but he wanted us to go to college together, and because of senioritis, I fell back again into a deep depression, which he refused to acknowledge as legitimate. The only thing that kept me going were my friends and theater, but he was jealous of my friends, which were mostly guys. I told him that if I'm okay with his female friends, then he should respect my guy friends. Besides, they didn't really have an interest in romance. For some reason, he hated my best female friend the most for some reason. It was also at this point that we started to advance into more intimate and other things. We never really got as far as penetration because I would literally have a mental breakdown by then, which sometimes he tried to ignore, but luckily I'd put my foot down each time. Sometimes he pressured me into doing favors for him, which I would decline, and one time I even had to slap him. That was another red flag, but stupidly I ignored that too. We graduated together and ended up going to the same college. It didn't make me feel more sure or any better, so my depression worsened to the point where I was offing myself ideas. I felt so unsure and trapped. There would be mornings that I couldn't get out of bed at all. I would tell him in detail how I would off myself. He still refused to acknowledge it. I never told anyone else, not even my parents. I felt alone. On the neckbeardy side of things, I remember one time I watched Sword Art Online Season 2, and there was a scene where Asuna gets assaulted by an adult male that was so explicit it made me so uncomfortable. Dom seemed unfazed by it and said that was the whole point. Freaking creepy, right? He treated me at times as his waifu and fetishized me with a daddy fetish. Stupidly, I went with it as uncomfortable as I was. Things only got worse when we worked together at a fast food restaurant. On the very first day, he picked me up from home and he got into an altercation with my little sister. Yep, this at the time 19-year-old man got into an argument with a freaking 12-year-old. Needless to say, during the entire ride to work, he yelled at me. I was so tuned out from shock and embarrassment. I felt scared. My parents were angry with this and refused to let me see him outside of work, and work was very hard to pull through with him there on some of my shifts. Then on our dates, he would literally hit my head if I said anything remotely stupid or silly, since I do have a terrible attention span. It wouldn't be almost a year later that my coworker would point out that it's abuse, and to this day, if someone raises their hand at me, even to pick up something, I flinch hard. Then I worked another job with him, though different shifts, where another worker harassed me in which I left. Dom didn't really care, which was just awful. These were more red flags I ignored, but by this point I was thinking about breaking up with him. I was going to move 2 hours away with my parents anyways, but I wanted to wait for the right time, and my parents wanted me to break it off, but I waited too long. I should have listened. I was on a date with him with my sister. By this point, the argument between them was forgotten. We were arguing in the car, which was also common now, and he slapped me in the face in front of my little sister. He told my mom, and my mom urged me to dump him, and I did. That was the last straw. He begged me for a week to reconsider, and I didn't. I was done. On a great note, I dunked him right before Christmas, and he had to give me the Nintendo Switch he got me, which of course I happily accepted. I didn't want it anyways, I still have it. I also spent a lot of money on him that Christmas and gave him his present, so it's only fair he gave me mine. But that wasn't the end of it. Even after I moved, I still contacted him at times as a friend stupidly, and even wrote to him and called him when I was in the military. After leaving him, I felt so much better. I felt like myself, and as of a few months ago, I completely blocked him. I felt so tied to him, and I should have left so long ago. It took me a long time to realize and acknowledge myself that I was in an abusive and toxic relationship with this guy. I didn't realize until recently how much of a neckbeard he kinda was. I still feel stupid for letting it drag so long. Sadly, that is the situation a lot of people are in, and I am so grateful I never married or freaked this guy. I'm grateful to an extent he had some limits. He never full-on roped me or beat the snot out of me, but regardless, it was abusive mentality and physically in some ways. As of today, I am very cautious about dating, and my mental health has improved significantly. I feel good about myself. I still am a bit of a weeb though, more casual about it and much more mature, something he will never ever get to have. have. Sorry for the long story again, but I needed to get this off my chest. Our next story comes from user deleted their account, dang it. An incel neckbeard taught me what an incel was. Excuse me if I'm being kind of rude in this, but I'm pissed. Also, I've never been on this subreddit before. I'm on some subreddits, I do not remember what it was, and I see something that says incel. I don't remember the post, but it did say Stacy sucking Chad's, not gonna say that, dong, so of course I was kind of upset. I didn't really know what an incel was, but I knew it was something sexist. Naturally, I ask in the comments. I got a DM a couple of minutes later. It's from a freaking freaktard. This same guy who made the post, he tells me what he thinks an incel is. An incel is a person who girls think are too ugly and small. They would rather grind Chad's chicken than actual nice guys. Oh, thanks, I replied. Somehow we kept texting. He would say things and I'd have questions. He kept posting and got blocked from the subreddit, so he would make more and more accounts. Something you might need to know about me, I don't like upsetting people, so I won't say stop talking to me. I know, it's bad. So he kept texting me from these new accounts. I listened to him try to prove his dumb butt and wrong points. I just listened and sometimes asked questions. Sometimes, very rarely, we chatted about things. This happened twice. I would constantly say it's not about socks for some women. I made sure he knew I was one of those people. He asked me if I've ever dated someone who wasn't a Chad and was an ugly duckling. His words, not mine. In fact, I have, so I said so. He said my friends probably told me to break up with him and say I was pretty enough to hook up with Chad. I said my friend did say that. He then said, did you break up with him and frick Chad? No, I did not frick Chad. Do I say that? He asked me if I broke up with him. No, I did not. He broke up with me. This made him so freaking mad. I built up the courage to just block his accounts and ignore him. Freaking neckbeards. Edit, I could not care less if you see this so long as he doesn't message me. And with that, that is going to have to be it with the video. If you would like to be absolutely amazing and supportive, be sure to absolutely decimate that like button, leave a comment down below, start up one of those wholesome internet discussions, and if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.